For decades, the iconic Golden Key has been a symbol of excellence at luxury hotels the world around. Today, we bring a very different sort of key to the Langham Hospitality Group, the key to unlocking your potential for the future. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jerome. With me today, I have Abigail, Douglas, and Eugenia. Together, we are Jade Consulting. But how can LHG actually move forward unlocking this potential? Allow Abigail to walk you through our analysis.
So looking at the current situation, our analysis has surfaced three things. Firstly, LHG has 22 hotels in 6 countries, and its current brands lacked well-defined and distinct positioning, and the customer loyalty program is currently not core to LHG's value proposition. Now, these have been highlighted in direct contrast with where LHG wants to be. It wants to be a leading international hospitality group that offers alluring and unique brands in different market segments, and it wants to deliver this by being a leader in customer loyalty. So, LHG will be able to achieve its vision if it manages to overcome the following key issues. Firstly, how can it grow its current portfolio? Secondly, how can it manage its brands within this portfolio? And thirdly, how can it strengthen overall customer loyalty? And by addressing these issues, LHG will be able to reach its target of 100 hotels by 2019. So moving forward for LHG, we have identified 2 key growth opportunities for it, namely by actively managing its existing assets and by acquiring new ones. Now, by looking at its current assets that it has, specifically at its 3 brands within Hong Kong, we notice that they are already very well managed, evident from its favorable and high-yielding customer base, also from high and currently still growing occupancy, as well as increasing revenue per available room. So we see that its assets are very well managed, and this means that to drive further growth, LHG needs to look beyond its high-yielding current assets, and it needs to focus on asset acquisition. Now, looking at the scale that LHG wants to attain, we actually notice that it wants to grow itself by 5 times within the next 5 years. And our analysis shows that this would be difficult for LHG, given that it's a relatively small company with limited resources and international presence. So it would be difficult to grow itself by directly owning its new acquisitions. So the implication here is that LHG needs to focus its growth efforts on securing hotel management contracts from external hotel owners. Now, what do these external third-party hotel owners look for in a brand operator to manage their property? Now, we have identified 2 main things that are important to them. Firstly, they look at the brand fit, whether it fits their current preferences, and beyond that, whether the hotel brand positioning is suitable for the hotel property. Now, what this means for LHG is that its accessibility in its range of brands that it offers is extremely important in order to afford hotel owners variety when choosing a hotel brand. Secondly, we have also identified that the potential income to a hotel owner through the management contract is important because hotel owners would want to look for a hotel brand that appeals to consumers in order to secure steady and growing revenue to secure profits. So what this means then for LHG is that the attractiveness of every individual brand in its portfolio is exceedingly important to incentivize hotel owners to sign that contract to get their property managed by LHG. So, with these 2 characteristics of accessibility and attractiveness in mind, we are proud to present to you by Jade Consulting, Know, Earn and Yield, the key strategy to success for LHG, where we first of all know the way forward for LHG by managing its various brands. Then we look at how these brands can earn a place in their markets through differentiation. And finally, how LHG can yield sustainable results by enhancing customer loyalty. So let Jerome walk you through our Know strategy.
So our Know strategy begins by looking at the 4 brands that LHG currently has under their overall umbrella. Now we see that both the Langham and Langham Place have pretty large presences worldwide, whereas Eaton as well as Brand X are currently undergoing a period of change. Moving forward, the next thing we realized was that the value propositions of each of these brands and the brand essences were not immediately clear to the marketplace. So we began by developing distinct value propositions for each of the brand. Now, the Langham focuses on European experiences for classic luxury seekers, whereas Langham Place indulges more on modern sensibilities. Eton targets the young at heart, whereas finally, the soon-to-be launched brand X is actually going to be targeted at business travelers looking at a home away from home. Taking an even closer look at the kind of the scale of the different segments that they're looking at, you find that the Langham Place targeting the overall luxury segment takes about 15% of the market, whereas the millennials makes a larger percentage at 35%. Overall, brand X with business travelers make up roughly 30% of the market worldwide.
Percentage of what market?
The overall number of travelers. So this is in terms of number of travelers.
So Eton has 35% of the market for...
Sorry, what it means is that millennials make up 35% of the market, of the overall travel market. Yeah? Okay, so the main point that I'm trying to bring across right here...
So who's the other 20%?
So firstly, the market data doesn't overlap. Actually, it does overlap. So you can actually be a business traveler and a millennial. So it doesn't all add up to 100. But what I'm trying to point out here is that many of these segments actually represent significant amounts of the market in terms of the overall market size, and thus are all significant in terms of the overall brand strategy. Okay? So.
Do you have the breakdown of the analysis that you use to get those percentages?
We do not have it with us today, but you can see the sources that we have used at the bottom. So anyway, moving forward. The implication then of that slide really is that we should look to develop all the 4 different brands that Langham currently has, because it's important that it gives them a broad portfolio in terms of being accessible to the hotel owners, which is in the end our overall goal. But moving forward, looking at these 4 brands, we recognize that 2 of the brands, Eton, who's undergoing a renewal, as well as brand X, which is going to be launched shortly, actually have many things that need to be done right now. So our second strategy, the Earn strategy, is focused on helping them develop into their new markets and also target the correct customer segment. So let's begin then with the Eton Group, or the Eton Group of hotels, which is rebranding to Target.
Let me ask you before we move on, when you talk about market segment, did you look to see how those market segments are going to be in the future?
Yes, actually, so the millennial segment in particular is the one that's growing. It's going to be growing extremely quickly. So it's important that Eton develops a strong value proposition. The luxury segment is forecasted to grow, though not at a pace as quickly as the millennial segment. So,
I'm sorry, I'm still not quite clear on what the point of this is.
Sorry, what can I help clarify for you?
So you've got some split of the market here and lined it up against our brands. I mean, so what? Okay,
so going back to that slide, basically these are the segments of the market that are targeted by these brands. Now the point here is that these brands are then all significant to the overall strategy, because if you were not to focus on any one of these brands, so for example, Langham were not to launch brand X, what you mean is you'd be missing out on a significant amount of the overall traveler market size. Yeah? Okay. So we're going to move forward here, and so this is on millennials for Eton, for the Eton hotels. And the first thing we realized when we were researching millennials was one of the key trends that came up was that many of them spend significant amounts of time socializing in public areas, such as hotel lobbies. They conduct many social visits in the lobbies, as well as work meetings. What it means for that is that any hotel group looking to actually target these millennials must be able to change their physical space, change their layout, and accommodate these activities that the millennials like to engage in. Now, the best in industry practice for this is actually comes from the Marriott Courtyard, which is targeted at them. And what they've developed is a bistro lobby concept, which includes discussion corners as well as pod seating. This allows the millennials to spend more time. It's more conducive for the social interactions in the lobby, and this has been very well received. So the implication then is beyond just a rebranding, a pure rebranding of Eton Hotel, the physical spaces, the hotels themselves actually should be changed, improved, to be more conducive eventually to these sort of social activities that appeal to the millennials.
Just curious to know, when you look at the luxury hotel segment versus the Eton,
sure.
In terms of demographic demands of these people, are these really differentiated? You know, certain class of people will go to that places, or older people go to that other places. Do you have any ideas? I mean, who are the people who most likely will be staying at Eton?
Okay, so currently Eton differentiates very heavily on the kind of sustainability and implementation that they have. So they have a lot of environmentally friendly practices. In terms of the luxury segment, it's more for the people who like the sensibilities but are willing to pay the higher price point. So the prices is actually a big part of this entire strategy. Eton is actually going to be priced at a lower point and will continue to be so in the future.
Is that a demographic significances? I mean, age group, that kind of things. Are there any difference of the users of the different hotels?
Oh, sure. So Eton will be targeted at millennials, so that's going to be a younger age group. But as the millennials continue to grow in size, there's going to be a different groups between the younger millennials as well as the older millennials. So you will see that age gap try to actually narrow a little bit in terms of the demographics. Okay. So the next thing we actually looked at in terms of Eton is that we realized that when millennials actually feel that causes are important, they look very heavily. 77% want to act on these causes because they feel that they're important. A large percentage of them also are looking for immersive travel experiences. Now this creates a very distinct opportunity for Eton Hotels. They can create programs that allow travelers to actually be involved in local social causes. The examples of what I'm thinking about, you can see there on the screen. Now this actually creates two very distinct and important benefits for the group. Firstly, it allows you to develop a unique and differentiated appeal factor specifically targeted at this millennial customer segment. And secondly, it reinforces LHG's group-wide commitment to CSR activities and the support of local communities, which is so important.
Are you referring to the fact that you may be working with some NGOs for these programs? Because interestingly, some travelers just book a hotel, especially for millennials.
Sure.
They just book a hotel based on the lowest price point hotels instead of like going there for doing good. So how can you make this happen?
Sure. So I do acknowledge what you mean. There are some millennials who will just book on price point. So those millennials are not actually the target segment that Eton Hotels will be looking at. Eton Hotel will be looking at basically the millennials who want to stay in hotels as opposed to the other options available to them, such as hostels. But when they do come into the hotels, they don't just want to be looking at the touristy sites. They want a more immersive travel experience, understanding the social situations of the country, which is why I'll plan them to move them on to this social causes is actually going to be quite important. Okay, so moving forward now, beyond Eton Hotels, we also want to look at targeting the business travelers with Brand X, the soon-to-be-launched Brand X. And the first thing that we noticed when we actually were researching business travelers is that the quality of the concierge service is one of the things that makes a huge difference to their overall experience when they actually do stay. Some of the things that they request from the concierge and that they do expect, you can see there on the screen. Now, the implication then is that when Brand X does enter the market, one of the things it should focus very heavily on is premium concierge services. And what we're referring to here, as you can see, is the Leclerc Dior, which is the Society of Golden Keys, a globally recognized standard in terms of quality concierge service. So Brand X should be looking to get their staff trained and eventually entered into the society. This is not any different from what Langham would be doing right now. But as you can see in the Langham Hotel, right where we are now, they have staff that are from the society as well. But targeting business travelers is doubly important that they continue to focus on this because the value-added services that these business travelers actually look for will be delivered to them using this concierge as a platform.
Can you clarify further what do you mean by value-added services?
Sure. So as business travelers, they have a lot of demands in terms of additional conveniences that are provided to them, given that they spend large amounts of time in the hotel. So things such as like shoe polishing service could be a very important thing to them, or the fact that they could get their clothes pressed in a few hours in a very short period of time. All these things are important given the time-sensitive nature of travel and work. So these are the kind of value adds that we see that the hotel can afford, but importantly, the concierge service will be able to push to be the linking point, the touch points between the hotel services and eventually the business travelers. Moving beyond that, we also look at increasing the revenue streams for F&B because what we realized was that business travelers tend to spend more of the money actually eating within the hotels themselves. So because of the different things like heavy workload, the jet lag associated with travel, and also hectic schedules, the 33% that the group currently gets roughly from its revenue from F&B can look to be increased specifically for Brand X. And the way they can do that is by looking to improve the F&B offerings. we have identified key attributes to improve F&B offerings that will allow Brand X to better cater to the different needs and wants of the business traveler. The first thing, of course, is the most important, speedy service. They're looking to minimize waiting time, especially for room service during off-peak hours. Featuring local offerings is an important thing, because business travelers, they don't want to just eat the international food. Sometimes they want to try what's local, yet they might not have time to travel out to find it. So finding something on the hotel menu will be a huge plus for them. Lastly, providing healthier options is something that the hotel can do in order to cater to the increasing trend of more health-conscious female business travelers. So many female business travelers will note that they want more healthy options on their food menu. So this is definitely something that they can do.
Are you saying that male business travellers aren't health conscious?
Definitely not, sir. What I was getting at is with one of the trends, the overarching trends, that the female travelers, instead of looking for something heavy at night, they will look to have like a salad for dinner. And that's more so than the male travelers. Of course, there are male travelers that will be more health conscious, but in order to address this trend, this is important.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Will a millennium business traveler going to Eton or go to Brand X, in your mind?
Sure. In our mind, if they're traveling for business, they would then obviously tend towards the business hotel, so Brand X. But if they are traveling for pleasure, because a millennial can travel for pleasure as well, and they do travel quite a bit, that's when the positioning of the Eton Hotel with the focus on the millennials will be more important in attracting them to that hotel.
So for Brand X offering, I see a lot of similarity to the Eton brand. So are you, for Brand X, you are targeting also only to particular to millennium or a bigger wider range of customers?
So for Brand X, we're targeting all business customers, beyond some millennials as well, but also business customers that aren't in the millennial group. The strategies that we have provided to you for Brand X actually are focused more on the traits of the business travelers, and so they are quite distinct from the millennial group in our minds.
Happens to be very similar.
Okay. The overall implication then, the flexibility is an important thing for Eton Group. You must be able to adapt to the different varied demands of the varied business traveler segment. So now what we've shown you today through our first two strategies is how basically Langham Hospitality Group can go out with the two new brands, both Eton Hotels and Brand X, and target the key customers. Well, what comes up next is how they can move one step forward, looking at securing long-term customer loyalty, and allow Eugenia to show you how they're going to be able to do this.
So our analysis shows that the current 1865 program that LHG has is actually a very good thing for the future to create long-term customer loyalty. Currently, we have benefits such as early and late checkout services, but our group feels that we should have a group-wide benefit, such as a point system that can allow customers to earn points easily, redeem them, and enjoy them, so they have incentives to come back in the future. Another recommendation that we have is to implement customized brand-specific benefits in terms of the rewards program. So that is tailoring each of our reward system according to the Langham Place, Eton Hotels, as well as Brand X. For instance, at the Langham, you have the classic luxury traveler. And the classic luxury traveler wants certain things that is different from the rest of the target customers of the other brands. So what we have here is that if they were staying at the hotel, if they want to redeem their points, they can get points and rewards that are tailored specific to their needs. Another brand that we'll look at is a build-up on what Jerome has covered earlier on, and that is the Millennials group, and this is the group that Eton Hotels is trying to target. So the first thing you do when trying to create customer loyalty is to identify key customer traits. For the Millennials group, these traits are that first, they seek instant gratification, they're quick to post their positive and negative experiences on social media, and finally, that they value soft benefits more than any of the other groups. From this, we've customized the way that these millennials can earn their points. For instance, since we see that they seek immediate gratification, we can reward them by recommending their friends to like and to share LHG's Facebook page, and this will give them the points immediately into the system, and it will be verified by an email. On the flip side, now that they've earned their points, how then can we tailor the rewards that they can get? So we see that they value soft benefits more than any of the other groups. And what we can do here is to offer a 20% off room stays during their birthday months. To value add to this, we can give them a birthday cake for when they check in. So these two strategies, how they earn the points as well as the rewards they can get from it, they actually create a bespoke customer loyalty program that will differentiate us from our competitors.
Hi. What's the difference between soft benefits and I assume hard benefits?
Okay, so soft benefits is like fringe stuff. So if you were to be staying in the hotel and you have a VIP experience, so you're given things that you, in your profile it states that you like, in your previous stay at LH, like if I stay at the Langham this time and I say that I like soda water, so if I were to enter the hotel room this time, I would have soda water instead of still water. So soft benefits are stuff like that. And hard benefits would probably be more tangible, things that I request for and that I expect to come with the price that I pay. Okay, so moving forward, we have the communication.
Before, kind of follow on that, you'd be interested to see, you're very smart, you're going to be traveling in 2 years after you graduate, and you're going to be in business hotels and that. Are you okay with me buying your recommendation with points?
Could I clarify that question again?
Well, you said if you tweet my company,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you points for doing that. Are you okay with me buying your recommendation?
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay.
So I'll move forward. And these are in terms of the communication channels that we will be using. So for one thing is that social media is a big thing. And we can leverage on social media via a Facebook marketing campaign. And this will help create a memorable brand image for LHG. The second thing is to harness opinion leaders. These opinion leaders can generate interest in Eaton hotels. So the first and the second communication channels help us to get word-of-mouth opportunities, which will enhance the overall impression of Eaton and LHG as a group.
Sorry. Who would you consider in your group opinion leaders?
For opinion leaders for the millennials, I would think it has to do with a lot of social bloggers who travel and are fashion bloggers. So one example I have is Nicole Wan, who is from Australia. Her blog name is Gary Peppergirl, and she has over 1 million followers on Instagram. So she posts pictures of herself at the different hotels, and when people comment and view her pictures, they actually think like, hey, this hotel looks really nice, and if I had the opportunity, I would love to stay there.
So it's other travelers?
Other travelers.
Any
So
other segments?
in terms of opinion leaders.
Well, what kind of people would you, when somebody becomes an opinion leader, there's something. Are they sports people, or are they business people, or are they?
Sorry, hello? Yeah, okay. So there are two main classes of opinion leaders that we are looking at here. So we have, like what she mentioned, and those are the other travelers, so other consumers of your service and your product. The other ones are those that are more aspirational, people that you will look up to, business leaders of large corporations and so on and so forth. So these are the two sort of opinion leaders that we're looking at, but specific to targeting them in the future, in the growing segments, you're going to be looking more and more at the opinion leaders from the social sphere.
So with the word of mouth, we can actually enhance the overall positive impression of the LHG group. We have, in the same vein, we have actually developed the same thing for the classic luxury traveler, the modern luxury traveler, as well as the business traveler. We identified the key customer traits, tailored a rewards program for them, and then the marketing channels in which we'll try to reach out to these consumers. So our strategies that we have presented...
Can we just go back to marketing channels there? How is word of mouth a marketing channel?
It's not a direct marketing channel, but it's just that through travel publications and the high-end travel agents, we can achieve word of mouth.
Okay, so word of mouth isn't actually, it's just a catch-all category for the normal marketing channels that we'd go through anyway.
It's the result of the other two, yeah, that we go through.
Right.
So are you saying that you have travel publications and high-end travel agents, both for the classic luxury traveler and modern luxury traveler? So your two brands are basically competing with each other on these spaces. How can you distinguish each one from another?
I think that would have to do with how we define each of the travelers. So for the classic luxury traveler, we have the traditional classic luxury travelers, and they look at certain magazines such as Tesla. So the Langham has actually been featured in Hong Kong Tesla, as opposed to the modern luxury traveler, who is featured on websites such as Travel Plus Holiday, which is a more modern feel where individuals from the modern luxury travel segment like to immerse themselves in the culture more, as opposed to the traditional luxury where they look at the hard benefits that they get. So
quick question for you. How do you make your travel decisions when you're on holiday?
When I make my travel decisions, first I look at what budget I have. So if I have the budget to stay in a hotel, then I'll compare the different hotel locations and then the value-added benefits that I get from it. So I'm quite socially conscious. So if the hotel states that it prides itself on being socially responsible, and that is something that I believe in, then I would go for that hotel that charges me a little bit more per night, as opposed to another hotel that is not CSR friendly.
And so you would go to a website and research each of the hotels that were available and their CSR strategies?
Yeah, I tend to be quite an information-seeking individual, so I don't think I speak on behalf of all millennials, but as an individual myself, yes. So our strategies...
Aren't we missing something here? We've got this loyalty program and we're talking about social media and like all this cool stuff, and I don't see anything in here about big data. What about big data? I've heard that's a big thing.
So yes, big data is definitely going to be a useful thing, but the most important and most useful sort of data will actually come from the knowledge, from the information that you will be able to get from your loyalty program. So what we focus on here is actually building up the different options for travelers to utilize the loyalty program. And in the next step then, they can look at utilizing this big data to optimize their service offering mix to the consumers.
So how are you going to do that?
Well, as a group, they will definitely have to engage an external consultant to help them with that process. But the first step that we're focusing on is actually getting the data in their hands first.
But don't we have that through the loyalty program?
Yes, they do, but the loyalty program is not as well developed as it should be. Thus, if you were to implement it now, you wouldn't be getting the sort of returns and information that you would be able to get if you built it up first a little bit more. And that's been our focus.
So the strategies that we have presented to you today accomplish two things. The first is the No strategy, which makes LHG more accessible to private hotel owners. Our second and third strategies of Earn and You help enhance the overall attractiveness of LHG to private hotel owners. So today, with our key strategy, LHG will be well poised for future growth. But what does that mean for our financials? Let me hand over the time to Douglas, who will walk you through.
Okay, so from a financial perspective, let us see how the key strategy can enhance LHG's growth potential. Firstly, we should see improved profitability. As compared to the base case for our status quo assumptions by 2019, we will see a 44% in the bottom line. This is caused mainly by the increase in the number of hotels under management, as well as the increase in the reliance on the management fees, thereby reducing expenses. Secondly, enhancing the revenue mix to bring more balance to the portfolio. Through our JADE recommendation key strategy, we will see an 11.1% segment revenue contribution from management contract fees. And finally, through our improved customer loyalty program, we will see an improvement in revenue PAR, 28% over the base assumptions. Zeroing more on the revenues, we have forecasted our status quo revenue growth for the next 5 years, and is now recorded at a 10% compound annual growth rate. With the No and the Earn strategy, however, we can recognize incremental revenues. This is caused by development of LHG's brands, as well as ensuring both the success in the repositioning of Eaton and the rollout of Brand X. Our yield strategy will bring improvements in customer loyalty, directly improving occupancy rates as well as the ADRs. Our key strategy, therefore, will yield a compound annual growth rate of 17%. We did a sensitivity analysis based on a 3-case scenario, and as you can see, positive NPV has been recorded regardless of differing assumptions. We've deferred the assumptions based on the number of hotels that can be opened by 2019, the percentage that can be derived from the segment revenues of management contract fees, as well as our inputs for the ADRs. Our implementation timeline has been coupled with our key performance indicator trackers of the number of hotels that can be open, as well as the revenue PAR.
Where are the cost figures in this?
Right. Slide number 99. So this is all the bottom line net profits. This is caused mainly, we've forecasted based on constant EBITDA margins, as well as the segregation based on the marketing expenses. So specifically for the marketing expenses from our plans, it recorded at 28.6 million Hong Kong dollar.
With your projections, you're going to shoot up to 100 hotels, right? So that is your forecast on that. So within 5 years, and how possibly have you ever looked at it is every year with a Langham Group's situation right now to acquire 20, 30 hotels, in any given years? How feasible it is?
Go to slide 83. So from our assumptions, the feasibility comes through mainly through the management contract, expanding more towards, instead of building actual physical hotels, but the reliance.
So how many are these new contracts and how many are the new hotel built? Do you have a rough numbers?
Yes, currently we have, as
Sorry,
such,
time is up. Thank you. Thank you, Team 2.